Robert Vamosi, the author of When Gadgets Betray Us. Robert, a couple of researchers came out with a paper showing that Apple was using technology that enables them to know exactly where we are when we carry our iPhone or our iPads around with us. Is this a particularly good example of how gadgets can betray us?
Yes. It's the geolocation component, and I talk about it a little bit in my book. Microsoft and Google have already been doing this, and now Apple had been outsourcing it to another company and has started doing it themselves. What they want to do is collect all the Wi-Fi signals that they can so they can better position where you are at any given moment in time. What was found out by the researchers is that it actually stored it in an unencrypted file, and that file is actually shared with any of the PCs that you might use to sync with. And so that file is stored in a number of different locations, and as I mentioned, it's unencrypted. And so potentially someone could find a way to access it and be able to profile where you've been and what your habits are.
It's pretty outrageous. I mean, most of us who walk around with these devices never imagine that the company that sold us the device is actually acquiring all this very intimate information about us.
Well, we're not thinking in a security sense. We're thinking in the gadget sense. It's pretty cool that I don't need to carry a digital camera with me. I can take a picture now with my mobile phone. The problem is that I've got geolocation on my phone. It's native on there. And so the image that I take is going to have my longitude and latitude in the file if I tell it to. I can tell it to turn it off. And most people don't know that they can do that, but you can go into the camera setting on most phones and turn the geolocation off. Why you'd want to do that is pretty simple. When you upload that photo to a social networking site, I can come along and I can basically look for that longitude and latitude data, and I would know where you are at any given moment in time. But I could also go and look for your other photographs, and say you're taking pictures of your home or loved ones. Now I can learn a lot about you. I know where you live, and I know who's very important to you just based on the geotagging that's going on with the image taken by your phone.
You said that Microsoft and Google are doing the same thing as Apple. How are they doing it? What devices are they using?
Well, they're also looking for the Wi-Fi networks that you associate with when you're walking down the street or at work and at home, and they're building a network up of those locations and mapping it to a specific longitude and latitude, and that's how they know where you are. We talk about GPS, but GPS is not really used in most mobile devices. It's Wi-Fi that they use.
Is Research in Motion doing it as well?
I'm sure they are. I haven't heard any research pointing to that.
So really then this isn't news. I mean, the fact that Apple is doing it is no different from everybody else.
No, it's not news, but it is surprising that they would be doing it in an unencrypted file and that file would be shared with other devices.
Does the government need to step in here?
Possibly, because we're starting to expand the definition of what identity and identity theft might constitute. And before it was simply your social security number, your birth date, and your name and address. And now we're starting to collect more and more personal information that can uniquely identify you. And I think geolocation may come into play at some point, and we might start to see other criteria introduced by the gadgets that we have.
Some researchers, I think it was in last month in China, have developed technology which enable people to figure out almost the exact location of personal computer users. Is this part of the same problem?
It's part of the same problem. It's how those computers are connecting to the internet and being able to triangulate all the different input so that they can figure out geographically where you are in the world.
So doesn't this support Yevgeny Morozov's argument in Net Delusion that governments in Iran or China can use all this new digital technology to keep tabs on its dissident population?
It is possible, although I talk in the book about the collection of data. And we think of the movie Minority Report, for example, where you're walking down the street and all the signs are attuned to you personally and talking to you personally. But I think the reality is more the end of Indiana Jones, where there's a huge warehouse and the Ark of the Covenant is being put on one of the shelves where it'll be forgotten about. I think a lot of these businesses are collecting data, But whether they're specifically and uniquely tracking you, that remains to be seen. And whether a government can actually mine through all of this data and track you, again, it remains to be seen.